Sounds good. Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are watching from, and welcome everybody to the Santa Clara University Office of Undergraduate Admissions live event. So whether you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, we're glad that you've joined us. And please comment during this, whether you're a parent, student, counselor, let us know where you're coming from, and please share this video with your friends.
And before we get started, while everyone settles into the stream, we wanted to announce the winner from our contest yesterday. So the question originally asked was, what are the 4 different ways to apply to Santa Clara? And the answer, though some of you were talking about transfers, we were looking for first-year student applications. So we have early decision 1, early decision 2, early action, and regular decision. Also, those transfer applications do count. But so those winners, the first correct answer from Instagram was James Mertka, and the first correct answer from Facebook was Molly Twistle. We're going to be reaching out to you guys via Facebook, Instagram Messenger to get your details, so be on the lookout for that in the near future. Also, just to kind of introduce ourselves, my name is Liana. I'm a senior communication major, originally from Easton, Connecticut. On campus, I'm involved in a couple of different things in addition to being a student ambassador. I'm the co-director for a nonprofit called Camp Kesem. Camp Kesem is a national nonprofit that serves youth whose parents have or have had cancer. I'm also involved in intramural sports. And on top of that, this past summer, I had an executive communications internship at Adobe.
So basically, she's a rock star. My name is AJ Williams. I am one of the senior associate directors of undergrad admission. Didn't attend Santa Clara, my wife did. I think that's good.
Good enough, much better, exactly. Actually.
Some points there. Originally from the Bay Area, but bounced around the country playing basketball and ended up at a small school, University of Puget Sound in Washington. Been in the field, just kind of fell into it like everybody else for about 14 years or so. And I enjoy it for opportunities like this to really kind of help explain this whole process to folks as much as I can.
You do a pretty good job.
Well, thank you.
Pretty good.
And so let's jump into the beast that is applying to college. And a couple of things I tell folks all the time is that, one, you just got to know your options. I mean, this day and age of Google and all the access to the technology right at your fingertips, pretty easy to do some research starting junior, senior year, even earlier than that. I definitely say get out and see as many campuses as you can, whether that's taking a trip with mom and dad or some friends up the coast, or if you have the means, getting out to different areas, different states, and checking out schools, because there are thousands of them out there. Big schools, little schools, medium-sized schools, and so it does make a big difference to walk around and sort of get a sense of, does this feel right, In terms of the parts of the application, though, pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure most of you folks have a good handle on this. It ain't rocket science. When it comes to the academic side of things, the big 3 components really are a GPA, right? I think for me, that's sort of the most telling factor of day in, day out, how much of a student are you? If you pay attention in class, you take good notes, you study those, come in and do well on tests, that kind of thing. Test scores, obviously, for schools that look at standardized testing, ACT, SAT, those are important. So my advice, again, is to take both tests at least once. You probably want to start that process towards the end of junior year. If you think you can do better, take it again beginning of senior year. I never really kind of push going the 3rd route. That's just torture. Usually those tests are the day after prom, and who knows where your head is. So again, just do the best you can on that. But do know that those tests don't tell us how intelligent you are. It's just because everybody takes them, we can say, how did you do? The last part of that sort of academic triumvirate is, I said that word correctly, right?
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. Folks are fact checking out right now. But that last part would be really an important part, right? How rigorous was your time in school? And I always sort of drill that point home that it's your time at your high school, not somebody else's time at a private or public down the street. With each application that comes in, we know exactly what's offered at a school. So whether your school has honors or AP or IB courses, or whatever gears of math they offer, it matters, right? So how rigorous was your time? The personal side matters, right? The personal side, I always tell folks that's through a small window to say, this is me as an individual. This is what I do in my free time. This is what makes me an interesting person. This is why you want me in your classroom or on your campus or as a roommate, right? And that stuff matters because, especially at schools like Santa Clara, this is a pretty, engaged campus. We're a residential campus, we got a lot going on. We want to bring interesting folks into this environment, right? And so the whole diversity thing, the way I really kind of drill that down, the way I can simplify it the most is, if everybody likes Cheetos, somebody gotta like Doritos, you gotta spice up the conversation. And so we look for all of that in applications.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, for me, it was very similar to that process. I'm from the East Coast. I didn't have a chance to come visit Santa Clara, but I really did use kind of every facet of the online world that I could to figure out about it. And I did have a chance to go visit some smaller schools, some bigger schools up around me where I could kind of figure out what I was looking for, what I was hoping for. So I made that original list. I think I'm one of those many students in our generation applied to around 14 or 15 schools. Got some yeses, some nos, some maybes, some wait lists. And had the chance to really dig in, talk to some alumni, go on the Facebook pages, the Instagrams, and see what students were really doing. And when I'm talking to prospective students, my favorite thing to hear is what they're doing on their campuses and kind of learning how they're going to better our campus for sure. And that's something that I think is really special about Santa Clara, that AJ and all our other counselors are really looking for students who are going to thrive here and do an awesome job here. I didn't apply to Santa Clara early, but I did apply to a couple other schools early, just to kind of hear back. I took the SAT 2 times, once in the spring and then super scored in the fall, kind of just like AJ was talking about. Still didn't know that much about Santa Clara, which is why I waited for that second deadline. But for those schools that I knew I could potentially see myself at, and I knew my application was ready, my GPA was well above what it needed to be, my extracurriculars, I had those letters of rec from my junior and beginning of senior year that were gonna push me and make me a top applicant, and that's why I submitted those kinds of applications early. Challenge-wise, applying, there was a big tropical storm the year that I applied to college, so all of the internet was down, and I remember I was getting.
Sandy?
Yeah, no, Sandy was before when I applied to college, I think, but it was a big one, and we were out of school for like a whole week at the beginning of the year, and I remember getting back and all the counselors were like rushing to get in their last minute visits, and which counselors in high school were like pushing you to apply to which school and where we should go, where you're gonna end up. But I think everything really happened for a reason. I ended up at a place that has made me really, really happy.
And so you brought up a few things, and the deadlines definitely, right, and when to apply and all of that. One thing I want to make sure that I cover is in terms of the different components. For Santa Clara, there's been some changes, right? So we're Common App school. We've always been on the Common App, and so we are part of about 800 schools that are on that. In terms of the application components, though, obviously a transcript, we're going to need that. Test scores. This is the first year that we're going with self-reported test scores in order to allow the completion of the application. So obviously if admitted and the students are coming, then we got to verify that with some official scores. But for completion of the application, we'll accept self-reported. So that's good for you folks to know. And hopefully I've gotten good feedback on the road from counselors and students. I think that's going to help. In terms of letters of recommendation, we need at least one academic teacher letter of recommendation. I believe send up to 3. Let's get the question: should mom or dad send me one?
No.
I wouldn't say that. Would your mom or dad write you a recommendation if you were applying to Google? Probably not. In terms of applying, for Santa Clara, you do choose one of the 3 colleges, right? So arts and sciences, business, engineering. Again, we're known for business, we're known for engineering. We're in the Silicon Valley. The majority of our students, though, are in the College of Arts and Sciences, right? That's why we're a comprehensive school. So have an idea. And one thing I always kind of tell folks is that I try to break folks of that sort of mindset of, if I want to be successful in life, I have to apply to business. Not the case, right? A lot of those folks with letters behind their name in the Valley, CEOs, CFOs, all that kind of stuff, usually have undergraduate degrees in the arts and sciences, right? Then they go on and get MBAs and things like that.
Keep saying that to me, AJ.
There you go. You're gonna be all right. So again, have an idea, but do know that folks change their mind in college, like on average, like 2 to 5 times in terms of averages, majors and things like that. Santa Clara's on a quarter system, so things move quickly here. That allows you some flexibility there, and so have a good idea with that. In terms of deadlines, for Santa Clara, we have November 1st, which is our deadline for early decision, which is binding, and early action, which is not. Then we have our January 7th deadline for regular decision and our brand new ED2 or early decision 2 option. What I always tell folks is that you should have a good idea of just where you are as an applicant in terms of if by November 1st you can look at our app, look at your situation, feel pretty confident you're the strongest applicant you're going to be, go ahead and apply because you'll find out sooner. If not, and you're banking on any progress in senior year, that first semester you're going to buckle down and boost your GPA, apply regular. If you're banking on later scores to boost your scores, apply regular. For us, we get the bulk of our applications in regular. We get our strongest applicant pool is early, and so again, that's my advice. Apply when you're the strongest. I will say, however, that in recent years we've seen that for folks who are thinking business or engineering in particular, those folks are usually strong enough to where they could apply early, and they should apply early because applying regular might put you behind the eight ball.
I'd say speaking to that, I didn't think a lot about what I wanted to do before I came here, and that's why I applied to arts and sciences. So if you have kind of that broad idea, then at Santa Clara you have the awesome opportunity to minor in a business or potentially pick up clubs, activities in engineering, which are really, really positive aspects and kind of reasons that people end up here and doing different things across schools after that kind of first process, which has been really positive.
And, and to that point too, so our policy is wherever school you're admitted in, you're in that program for at least your first year. So I tell folks from day one, business students and engineers take business and engineering courses. They also take courses in arts and sciences. So it's easier, although it's tougher to get into those programs, it's easier if you're in those schools to have a second major or minor in anything arts and sciences related, as opposed to trying to go the other way around. But I also kind of fall back on the fact that we have one of the higher retention and four-year graduates in the country. So our folks figure it out, they get out on time, and they go on and they're pretty productive with themselves, right?
Yeah.
So, very cool. Let's see, so now, let's see. Top 3 things successful applicants demonstrate in their applications.
Don't look
That's
at
for
me.
me.
I don't know the
That's
answer to those.
For me, I think numbers speak for themselves, right? I mean, the applicants are either in the ballpark or not. And again, we're a private school, so we deal more with averages as opposed to requirements or cutoffs, that kind of thing. So the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Personally, again, we're on the Common App. The Common App offers, I think, 6 different prompts for the essay. Folks, we live in pretty interesting times. If you can't write an interesting college essay, I don't know what to tell you, I think the 6th prompt is write about whatever you like. So for me, I love it when folks are brave and sort of take that leap and write about some topics that some might feel are taboo or whatever have you. And if you can do so in a way that demonstrates your passion for those things, and if any way, kind of ties that into sort of the mission of, a Jesuit school or whatever school that you're applying to, then I think you've done well. I save essays, a few essays every cycle. They never know that, but I do, and I share that with folks. For those of you who do a good job, know that it's appreciated, and folks like me, we'll spread that word.
Yeah. For me, reasons that I came to SCU, why I'm here, what's made me happy here. I had the opportunity to talk to lots of alumni, and kind of my favorite anecdote, I studied abroad in London last year, ran into a Santa Clara alum on the side of the street that picked us out of a crowd based on someone wearing a Santa Clara jacket, talked to us for 15 minutes about how much he loved his time at Santa Clara, what he did there, what he's doing now, and how he is continually giving back to the community. And that's the kind of people that I'm meeting every single day at work, at school, my professors, and having those opportunities has made this place such a positive one. So I think my why SCU is definitely the community, a place that you can grow for 4 years and come out and do pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. And you're bound to run into alums, right? I think
Yes.
as the oldest, or one of the oldest schools in California, I think we have like 100,000 living alumni out there, so you're gonna run into some Broncos, so that's good stuff. All right, are we at that live Q&A? Oh, okay, so I will turn to my lovely assistant. Let's see. All right, let's see. And these are questions from the audience here. So, does SCU have supplemental questions? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Aside from, again, the main Common App and the essay that's a part of that, SCU has 3 supplemental questions on our SCU supplement. And the supplement is also where you would designate, which of the 3 programs you're applying to. One of the programs asks essentially, how did you come across Santa Clara? How do you know about it? Do you have any relatives or things like that? One asks about the mission and how you see that tying into any of your values, that kind of thing. The other one, pop quiz?
No.
No, okay.
It was a long time
It's
ago.
in that general frame, so yeah. But those should be short answer to questions, not essays, all righty? SCU's second, here we go, I think I have. SCU's second supplement question is about visiting. How should I answer if I have it?
I didn't visit Santa Clara before I came here. And kind of my way around the question was I did everything that I could to find out what kind of experience I would have on campus. And I wrote about that. I wrote about how I could see myself in clubs and activities, potentially in student government, walking down Palm Drive, whatever it may be, and kind of that feeling that I got. What made you apply to Santa Clara without having visited is almost just as important as what made you like Santa Clara when you got here. Do you think that works?
Yes, definitely. And I was just gonna say, truthfully is how you should answer that. And so we can tell when somebody's, just sort of using sort of basic generic things. So honestly, just answer that truthfully. The reality is we're in the Bay Area, you're on the West Coast. If you're coming from the East Coast, you might not have the means to get out of it. If you come from Southern California, you might not have the means to get out of it. Totally fine. Again, you should just really sort of answer that question in terms of what made you apply. So, yeah. You want to read some of these?
Yeah, so it says, is it frowned upon to apply undeclared in a school?
Sad. No, it is not frowned upon. The reality is, again, and that's again what I'm trying to tell folks, excuse me, who think, I have to declare a major, that kind of thing. And the reality is, too, I understand why there's confusion, because with some schools, especially large public schools, you apply directly to a major. I get that. For Santa Clara, you don't. So you apply to one of the three colleges, the three schools. I think the reality is in business school and engineering,
You can't have a major.
exactly, right? When you come in, they kind of make everybody undeclared, right? But you take those those survey classes of all the different types of business and all the different types of engineering. It's not until the end of sophomore year that most majors put pressure on you to declare.
But even then, you're not stuck with your major. So if you declare sophomore year and you don't like comm anymore and you want to be poli-sci, you're more than welcome to switch.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I fall back to our 86% 4-year grad rate. That's not 6 years, that's 4 years. One of the tops in the nation. So again, our students figure it out. The nature of the quarter system allows them to do that very quickly. I talked to a student today who said she had her entire day planned on the 15-minute increments.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just going to semester system. But yeah, so that's totally fine to be undeclared. All right. Should I submit both SAT and ACT scores? What did you do?
I think I submitted just the super score of my SAT. Was a little bit stronger there, but there were schools that said if you do both, send both, just so that they get a better profile. I don't know how you would answer this question, but I think like at Santa Clara, you're looked at very holistically. So if your scores are gonna show that you're well-rounded and that you are really good at math or really good at writing, that's awesome. But you don't have to submit both if you take both.
You don't. You really don't. My advice is, and I had to catch myself the other day too, because I was like, maybe cost comes into play. But my advice, honestly, is to send all your scores. Send all your scores. Universities really, generally speaking, are going to put you in the best position possible. We now super score the SAT, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ACT as well. Aaron, okay, all right. That was corrected. It's new. It's new for everybody here at least. So, honestly, we're going to put you in the best position possible. Sometimes what used to happen with folks who would score select, or score choice was an option.
I think that was when I applied, yeah.
That used to actually hold up applications because we wouldn't get any scores until all scores were up, right? So my advice again, send them all. We're going to put you in the best position possible. If it is a cost thing, then I get that. But that's my advice.
Question says, does Santa Clara recognize improvement in GPA in addition to overall GPA?
For sure. Yes, we do. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, trends is another way to say that, right? The GPA trend. And we definitely do. The reality is life happens and folks, kind of mature at different rates, especially boys. They're smarter and faster and sooner. We get all that. So that's totally fine. Some folks have just hit the ground running, and from freshman through senior year, they're strong.
Yeah.
Some folks, it takes a little bit coming off that junior high transition, and that's totally fine as well. What I would say is, if you're applying early, at most institutions, they're gonna see freshmen through, most private schools, right? They're gonna see freshmen through junior year grades. We would see the classes that you're enrolled in senior year, we wouldn't have any grades there. So again, that kind of goes back to my point of, if by November 1st of senior year, you're not banking on progress in the senior year, you're not banking on an upward trend, then apply early, right? If you're that strong, apply early. If you are, apply regularly, because the three options are, when you apply early, either you're strong enough to be admitted right off the bat, or you're in a situation where we say, we want to see how senior year is coming along, we'll defer you to regular to see how that's going along, see how our entire pool kind of shakes out. Or students can be denied, and if they're denied, we're talking about transferring down the line, and I'll see you then. But the reality is, if you're in the ballpark, at the least, you'd be deferred. So being deferred means you're still alive in the process. That is totally fine. Yeah. All right. Can you talk about financial aid and scholarships? The money. All righty. Yes, I can. I'll jump on that. And the reality is, Santa Clara is a big price tag. Total cost of attendance right now is around $72,000. Okay. We didn't lose anybody, right? Everybody's still there. Okay. The reality is 73% of the students who go here, 7 out of 10 students who go here, receive something to make it work. And so Santa Clara, like most private schools in the country, is really one of those institutions where on the front end, it's impossible to talk about, you can expect this much from us. You should apply, see if you get in, if what we offer is realistic, and go from there. We are one of those institutions where a lot of folks want to come. In the end, it's a question of, is it realistic for yourself and for your family, and that kind of thing. And so, definitely put yourself in the best position. Applicants, no matter the time period, early or regular, are automatically considered for any type of merit-based monies you might qualify for. Just given the strength of our applicant pool and our averages, those are tough to come by, right? But the reality is, you're automatically considered. No separate applications needed. In terms of financial aid, folks, fill out the forms. The FAFSA is pretty universal. Most schools in the country utilize that. The CSS profile, sometimes referred to as the profile, an additional and necessary form that most private schools will ask for. And folks, again, put yourself in the best position. Those conversations go a lot easier on the admitted student side if you've done what you need to do. And if most of the folks, or some of the folks here watching are Californians, and I can already hear you saying, we're not gonna qualify. Look, we get it. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. Brazil and Italy are behind us, right? Our numbers are skewed, I get that. But fill out the forms. You never really know, what that could produce for you. And just, put yourself in the best position. So that's my advice.
How has the U.S. News World Report affected admissions?
We're superstars right now. So I just got back from LA and had it was like a Bieber concert. No, not at all. It's honestly, universities really only talk about rankings when they're doing really pretty well, and we're doing pretty well. We're number 1 on U.S. News and World Report in terms of comprehensive schools in the Western region, so that is pretty cool. The reality is, it's an exciting time to be here. I've been at the university 12 years. Right now, this is the most, stop it. This is like the most construction I've ever seen going on the campus at one time. But it's for me, it's exciting to see where the university will be. Brand new $300 million STEM facility coming up.
After I graduate, don't look at me.
Yeah, you can come back and visit, and that'll be up by 2021. New housing will be completed by next year. Brand new, beautiful art and art history building opened up last fall. New law school building. I mean, it's pretty exciting, And if we're number 1 now, just imagine, after all that. And so, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah.
What do international students need to apply?
Good question. So really just like 3 additional forms. There is a TOEFL. If high school was in a non-English speaking country, or not all 4 years of high school were in program, then we will need a TOEFL or an IELTS or some form of English proficiency, right? And so that's one financial resource statement, right? The reality is that in the United States, being an international student really means there's a lack of funding. So you need to be able to demonstrate that you have the funds to make it work. And so those forms are necessary. Maybe transcript translation if you are coming from a non-English system, you know. And so those are really the three additional forms, but students can apply at any time. There is international students are eligible for a capped amount of merit-based monies. You know, so yeah, but those are just the three additional. Our website, however, is a great resource for that information.
Yeah, and super easy to use. I use it every single day.
You folks have questions. All right, good stuff. All right, you hit this and then I'll jump into that.
Okay. The question is, what's the diversity at Santa Clara like? I come from a town that is in similar population to Santa Clara University. And when I got here, I thought it was the most diverse place in the world. AJ laughs because lots of people don't think that way. But I think that the university does a really good job of kind of recruiting and having all sorts of different students, whether that be race, sexuality, thoughts, different religions. Everyone is really welcome to be here and part of a community, and that's something that I loved about being here is I don't feel like anybody is kind of siloed into whatever they are. They just get here and they're a Bronco. In terms of multicultural, like we have a really great multicultural center on campus, one of the only ones in the country that's student run. So that's a really great outlet if you're looking for that type of diversity, but do you want to tag along?
Yeah, and so, you know, folks ask a question that's really kind of near and dear to me and you know, part of why I do what I do, things like that. You know, so myself from the Bay Area, which like the rest of the West Coast and the East Coast is one of the more diverse and mingling areas of the country. Even so here, it's more so an international, you know, diversity, right, just by nature of the valley. So, you know, in terms of the university itself, we are about 17–18% Asian students. We're about the same for Hispanic Latino students. We're about 3.5% African American, right? And that is sort of a misnomer in the sense that the way that we are, we have to report that through the, you know, government, kind of iPads things, it's only students who mark or indicate African American only. If we could do African American plus,
Yeah.
You know, as you do with Hispanic, you know, students, then it would be closer to about 5%, right? So all of those numbers, even at 3.5%, all of those numbers that I mentioned are stronger than the national averages, right? And they should be by dint of where we are. But I always kind of stress to folks that the college campuses are really just microcosms of the country. And if you look at census figures, the country is predominantly, very much so, white, right? And so again, that's just sort of the nature of college campuses. They are, you know, microcosms of that. We do very well, and again, better than national averages in all those different areas. But more than that, I think the nature of 5,400 undergraduate students is that the groups that are here, there's an affinity, right? And you recognize each other, and you know, we have our different affinity groups and things like that. Are we immune to the kinds of issues that are going on throughout the country right now? No, no one is. No high school is, you know, but I do think, again, I think in part with the Jesuit philosophy that we don't shy away from those conversations. When things happen, if they happen, folks kind of tackle it head on. There's discussions about it, and I have been very impressed, and I wouldn't represent an institution that I wasn't very impressed with in terms of those types of initiatives. And so just some food for thought for folks on that.
Who reads the applications? Not me.
If I'm not feeling like it, I try to follow up students. We do, honestly. So we have a counseling, we being the admissions officers, and we read it start to finish, right? Read your essays, obviously we're looking at your academic credentials, things like that. We have a counseling team of around 10 to 12 or something like that. And last year we received 16,200 applications, the most we've ever received, and we read all of them. And we do it in terms of
Really fast.
over the you know, the chunk of time that we have to read all those. We do it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so, that said, we also, in terms of diversity, in my experience, we have one of the more diverse admissions offices, in the field. So we have folks who are looking at a whole lot of different things, a whole lot of different backgrounds, come to it with a whole lot of different perspective. And so it's a part of the job that we enjoy. Like I said, I save essays every cycle, and so it keeps it fresh. You would think it gets redundant, and sometimes it does, but it can be fun. So, yeah. More questions, all right. If you have a low GPA, are you discouraged to apply? Well, how low are we talking? No, I think one I will say though is be realistic. Be realistic. Application fees are, on average around $55 to $60. So sometimes I read applications and I really hope that person has a plan B. Because they really, but also too, I'll say, in this day and age of Google, sometimes I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
If you are not in the ballpark and you apply to us for engineering or whatever have you, and you're just not in the ballpark, then, you probably should have done more research. But the reality is, I think folks have different ideas of what a low GPA is. Sometimes folks are 0.2 of a number off of our GPA, and they think, oh my gosh, I'm not getting in. Should I even apply? Yeah, you should. Our numbers that you'll see on the website, those are averages, not cutoffs. And I'll throw it into that. I get the question of, okay, well, if my GPA is low, my test scores are high, vice versa. What do you guys look at? Again, the big three pieces: test scores, GPA, what you took. That's kind of speak for itself, right? And it's about perspective. Some schools are very challenging, and it's tough to even get a B in that kind of thing. We recognize that. Some schools are test factories, and we see a ton of students who have 13s and 14s and 1500s, that kind of thing. So again, it's the context of not only our applicant pool, but also your high school, and did you, how competitive are you within that? So 3 more questions, folks. You folks are very inquisitive. I like that. Okay.
Question is, how do we go about double majoring? Example, if you want to apply to the College of Arts and Sciences, but then potentially add a business major. So the biggest thing that we like to tell prospective students is you want to apply into the smaller school. So our biggest school is the College of Arts and Sciences, then we have the School of Business, and then engineering is the smallest. So if you're interested in business or engineering, you always want to apply into those schools, especially if, like AJ's saying, you're prepared for it. You've taken calculus, you've taken physics, you have that good GPA, you really think you're a strong candidate. Double majoring in the College of Arts and Sciences is most likely as easy as just signing a piece of paper. Whereas if you wanted to start in College of Arts and Sciences and move into business or engineering, you would have to kind of work through a transfer application process as if you were transferring into that school. So definitely kind of keep the eye out of that. It's super common to double major, minor, triple major. I even know a couple people that are crazy, but definitely possible within all 3 schools.
Yeah. There was a young lady who transferred into the university a couple years ago. She was class of 2017. And she was able to graduate with 3 majors and 3 minors. I don't recommend that, folks. That sounds like a headache, but it is possible. And so I tell folks, business students and engineers have to take English classes. English majors don't have to take accounting or mechanical, whatever. I'm not an engineer. Courses, So again, if you're in those smaller programs, easier to work with arts and sciences for a second major or minor. If you apply EA, are you also able to apply regular if deferred? It's not a matter of reapplying, right? If you applied early, or the 3 options, I think I mentioned this earlier, the 3 options if you applied early are that you're either admitted right off the bat, or you're in a situation where we will defer you, right? And if we do that, you need to pay attention to your communications, to your email. Because if you apply to engineering or business, we'll give you the option to say, that's fine, you want to be considered for that, or are you still open to be considered for the College of Arts and Sciences as well? So to me, it kind of comes down to, are you sure it's a specific major, or program that you want, or is it Santa Clara University? You know, and so that's something to take into consideration. If you are denied, then again, we're talking about coming to Santa Clara down the line, which is fine. That happens more than folks realize, you know, which is, so yeah, that's totally fine.
And it's normal to get deferred and waitlisted and
Correct.
declined. I got all runs of the gamut in my process,
Correct.
and I'm very happy still here.
And we have student ambassadors who are waitlisted, right? And so to me, I
And
think
transferred.
and transfers. So I think that speaks to the fact that, you know, there are a lot of folks who could come in here and be successful. The nature of an admissions process is you cannot take everyone, you know, and so whatever way you get here, if you get here, you deserve to be here.
Right on.
Last one, all righty. Oh, I'm gonna do that.
The third supplement question asks about the strategic vision of Santa Clara. How have you seen this question answered?
Oh, that's a big one. I wish I could throw that one to you right now.
Yeah, that's all I can.
Okay, so that goes to, again, you know, being a Jesuit school. And I will say, and I always say this, you know, I am not religious as in church going, right? But I've worked here over a decade. I am very impressed with the Jesuit approach. It is hands down, in my experience, the most open-minded approach to religious studies that you will find in higher ed. Religiously affiliated institutions, that religion, whatever it might be, can have different weights from campus to campus. At some schools, guys can't live in the same building as girls, and you have to go to mass, that kind of thing. I fully and truly appreciate the Jesuit approach, because here you have to take 3 classes in theology during 4 years. There are literally 152 different classes in all different manner of subjects and topics to complete those. It's no area where anybody's saying, we know the answer, follow this dogma. It's a subject matter and aspect of being and living that folks kind of want you to spend some time contemplating. So that said, that's sort of the mission, right? Being a Jesuit school, social justice, doing for others, being in California, the environment, sustainability. These are causes that manifest themselves in any number of ways on the 28 Jesuit campuses in this country alone to choose from. So that said, if you can look at I'm going meta.
Yeah,
right?
it's a big.
If you can use that foundation, look at the society and the world that we live in today and the issues and the ails of everything, and in some way sort of infuse where you see yourself in that, how you see yourself improving things or attempting to improve things, by all means have at it, because that's going to be interesting, and we like that. So, and those are the folks, honestly, that come out of here and go on and do pretty cool, pretty big things. And so if you can speak to that in that question, that would be my advice. One more? Oh, what is it? All right. All righty, folks. Well, thanks for watching. We'll be posting the full video on our pages in the next 24 hours. Leave comments, tell friends, grandmas, moms, cousins, counselors, all that good stuff. We thank you.
And if you guys have any more questions or things that you want to happen in the next live feeds, feel free to let us know, or feel free to call the admissions office as well, and hopefully we'll hear from you and get to answer a couple more of your questions as well. See you later.